the bracketology last night, the guy nailed it, and so you have a pretty good idea that where you're going to go and who you're going to play. Got any ideas you share with us about Clarkson?
Well, I mean, we've been fairly close with Casey. I mean, he was at our coaches thing last year, him and his assistant coach, Brett Brecky. Yeah, so we probably know more than we should about each other. But, we played them 2 years ago, too, in the Shillelagh tournament, and they beat us here. So, yeah, you have a little bit of a feel for how they play. I mean, they've got a very, good offensive team, their top couple lines, and they got a great goalie. Outside of that, I mean, it's going to, it'll be more about us. Right now, that's our focus, is to make sure that we're focused on what we do and how we do it. We still have to clean some things up from, watching the game from last night. So, but I mean, it's exciting. I just told our guys. I mean, one thing, we can't, take this lightly as far as, being in this thing 4 straight years. We're one of 16 teams that get to carry on our season, and it needs to be a special opportunity for us. But I do credit this senior class as the first time it's ever happened that they've been in the NCAA tournament 4 straight years. So it's that experience certainly helps. But I mean, Providence was in a regional last year, and they got knocked off by Providence, but Clarkson was. I mean, but it'll be a challenging game. I mean, they're a good hockey team. They won their conference championship and beat a tough Cornell team. So I expect it'll be a real challenge. And I know they have a really good power play as well.
Talk a little bit about the defensive core, your blue liners, and Andrew talked about how the last couple of weeks they've gotten a little more. You've gotten a little more physical. And I know at the beginning of the season you talked about you're going to be more of a finesse for a while until they got in here, got in the weight room. Have you seen that physicalness?
Well, I've seen it out of him for sure. But I mean, Torey Dello always gives us a physical oomph, and when we made that move, which has helped Bobby Nardella be a little bit more in a less defensive role, which allows him to be more offensive. But he's done a better job defensively, and I think that the whole core as a group has done a good job. And mostly, I mean, the physicality, there's no question that they've had to get better because of the nature of the teams we play, and doing a better job at the net front, with so many teams really making an effort to crash the net with Kale. So we need to be physical in front of the net specifically, but also, there's times on the walls that we have to be physical. And the thing that's been really effective for us is the skating ability of our defensemen, especially, moving Stastny up to that first pair. It's allowed that pair to be focused on defending when they need to, and still, contribute on the rush, just like Stastny did last night.
You mentioned before that one thing that Stastny has that a lot of people don't see is sneaky physical.
Yeah, and he's strong physically, but I mean, his skating is his strength. I mean, he's such a great skater that he doesn't allow teams to have a lot of time with the puck, and that's maybe where we've been better. I would say, we've been a little stronger on the puck, which is, it could be construed as physical, but it's also, creating situations where there's less time and space for the opponent to make a play.
Coach, when you think about all the teams you've taken to the NCAA tournament, I'm just curious, can you separate what it means to get this particular group into the NCAA tournament?
Well, if you'd asked us a couple months ago, it would have probably been a little bit of a concern, where we were. Just the lack of consistency. We've shown more consistency over the last month here, or maybe 2 months. Last 6 weeks, I think, that we didn't win all those games in the latter stages of the year, but I thought we were playing well. And, consistency is always the key this time of the year. I mean, you have to be able to play not just consistent from game to game, but, within the game, play 60-minute hockey games. And I think we've been better with that than any point in the season, where we're playing 3 periods of hockey, and that's absolutely essential. You can't start slow, you can't have a bad middle period, and you certainly can't lose the third. So for us, I think it's more of a consistency factor that we've learned to play 60-minute hockey games.
And even though you don't want to be in these do-or-die situations leading into the NCAA tournament, is there a way that helps you going into the tournament, having to be so focused game in and game out the last month?
Yeah, it might. I mean, last year it didn't have a big factor on us. We knew we were gonna be in the tournament, but for a younger group, it might be better. That we've had to play, like, every game in the Big Ten tournament, it was like do or die. Because we lose one game against Michigan State, you get to a third game, you don't know what can happen. Same thing with obviously Minnesota, you're done if you don't win. But we were focused on each game specifically, and I think that has also helped us. I think our focus, I've been emphasizing it, and I keep telling them that, it's only about practice tomorrow right now, and I just told them that when I met with them. So we just have to focus on having a good practice tomorrow, and then we'll get to Tuesday, and then when we get to Friday, that's the only focus is playing Clarkson.
When we had Andrew in here a moment ago, I asked him about maybe was there a turning point in the second half, and I kind of referenced something you mentioned after that Wisconsin Road Series, that after the Minnesota back-to-back home losses, you guys readdressed the culture. You felt like it had slipped a little bit, and he mentioned even away from what you guys did, he and some of the seniors pulled everybody aside and got everyone together and kind of refocused. How important was that, do you think, in getting things back on track?
Well, the only way, that I felt like it wasn't like there was anything going on that our culture was shifting. It was showing up because of the nature of the situation we were in. I mean, the pressure we were under. The returning guys all expect, to be winning regularly, and we were winning every other night. We weren't winning every night, and I think that what that caused is it caused a lot of problems with shift length, where guys are trying to do too much. They're trying to stay out there way too long because they have that last gasp of a rush. They don't make a change, and then all of a sudden we get caught. And changes was really a factor against us, for a lot of times in the latter stages of the first, or the beginning stages of the second half. It probably really started at Penn State, right before a break. Mm-hmm. And that, that or unnecessary penalties, things that we always stress, discipline things. And it wasn't like the strength of the unit. It wasn't the cohesiveness of the team.
Right.
It was just, I think, because there was, guys were getting a little bit too, I don't want to say selfish, but they were getting too one-on-one-ish because we were having, and we're still not scoring the way we probably like to be, but we were starting to get too individualistic and trying to do too much.
Finally, I know you have to go out and earn it, but just the fact you're going back to Manchester, how bizarre is that, knowing the success you've had there?
Every year is different, so you can't predict. I mean, nobody would have predicted we would have won there last time, I mean, we had two close games. We beat Minnesota late, and we beat Lowell in overtime after having been spanked by them 2 weeks earlier, or a week earlier. And even the first time we won there, I mean, I think we were a lower seed, if I'm not mistaken. That was, I believe, Anders Lee's freshman year. We were a very young team, just like this group. Yeah. I think we had 9 freshmen on that team, if I'm not mistaken, too. And we had a real small senior class led by a transfer, Joey Lavin. Yeah. So that was the first time we had success at Manchester, and that team and this team are probably fairly similar. And it was a tough matchup for us because we had that year it was Merrimack that was, had a great year, and then we had UNH, who was the host school, so and they had won Hockey East, so it's never, when you get to this point, you're playing all conference champions, whether regular season or playoff champions. You're playing champion teams, and nothing comes easy.
What does it say about this group that they've been able to navigate that whole do or die, situation several weekends in a row, and how do you kind of carry that over now into the NCAA tournament? Well,
the biggest thing is just come down from the high of yesterday, and then get our heads straight before we play on Friday night. There's a part of me that likes the fact that the last couple weekends we've only had single games, and we've also had, because we've played Saturdays, we've also had additional days off, which hopefully will help us going into this week, because the teams that are all in this tournament have been playing best of threes, 2 games championships on the weekend, and the fact that we've played single games, hopefully helps us from a fatigue standpoint. Because when you get in the NCAA tournament, it's like you just finish your playoffs, and then boom, you're right back at it, and it's challenging. I really think that there should be a little bit of break between the end of the season and the regionals, as opposed to the regionals and the Frozen Four. But that's the way it is.
Do you feel this group has put together the 3 best periods yet, or do you feel like there's still something out there you can chase?
No, there's still room for us to get better. I mean, last night, especially early in the game, I thought we turned too many pucks over, especially coming out of our own end. And I think that's something that, against Clarkson, who's a very heavy forecheck team, very similar to Penn State, we're going to have to clean that up somehow in the next few days of practice and make good puck decisions. But the thing is I thought we did a great job in the third period. So it's like, it's just, I think that we just have to be prepared for the pressure that we're going to face and make good puck decisions coming out of our own end.
And I know you mentioned this a little bit, but I'm sure there were times this season that the doubt started to creep in that this might not be the year you make it to the NCAA tournament again. Can you just expound on what it means to get for this group to get in there once again?
Well, in some ways, the best thing that could have happened is that we got put in that position, we just started focusing on the next game. Especially the latter stages of the regular season where it was almost like that. It wasn't just the playoffs, it was before that, because we were, we wanted to finish to get home ice, and we wanted to, we knew it was probably out of reach, it became out of reach to finish in first. So we wanted to finish in second for the opportunity to play at home for the first 2 rounds, and potentially, if Ohio State got beat, which they did, is to host at home. Like, that all paid big dividends, and I think that the fact that we were focusing on trying to finish in second place, so that was our focal point in the latter stages of the regular season, it paid big dividends, because who knows if we'd be sitting here with this trophy, had we played on the road, or, had it worked out differently that we, had to play a different team in the first round, So for us, I think that it really started probably back, in February, where we almost got to the point where it was like, every game is the most important game.
Not to bring up a tough memory, but they flashed the Minnesota Duluth game from last year on the screen, and everybody got uncomfortable. What can you, as a coach, take from that run, and how much do you think of a motivating factor that can be or is for your team?
Well, I mean, this group is I mean, as far as respect factor, I don't think they've gotten the respect. There was no talk about, we've been in the tournament 4 straight years. We've been in the Frozen Four twice. I was impressed that Sean Richland picked us to get back there. But the thing is that, like, after we beat Minnesota, the only thing people were talking about was a penalty call, and not talking about our team scoring the goal in overtime to win the game. This team hasn't gotten the respect that I think that they've been deserved, but maybe that motivates us. Maybe that helps us.
Coach Peak was talking about how it's the standard to get into the NCAA tournament every year, to make it 4 years in a row. He says they built a foundation. So can you just expand on what kind of foundation this group has built?
Well, it is about the culture, but it's not just about the culture of our team. It's about the identity of our team, and we pride ourselves in recruiting character kids, and with character kids, there's room for growth in their development, both physically and emotionally, and it takes time. It just doesn't happen overnight. If you think of some of the guys, some of the seniors now that were freshmen, or some of the juniors that were freshmen, and how they've grown, not just as hockey players, but as people. Like last night, I mean, just reading some of the text messages from some of the former players that texted me, it's guys like Ian Cole and Brian Rust and Stephen Fogarty, guys that, the guys that were leaders here, the guys that, that helped build that culture, and then they learn from each other, and it gets carried over. Last year was Jake Evans and that group of seniors, and, this group of seniors is, they're all different in their own way, but they all have contributed in a lot of different ways. I texted Dylan Malmquist this morning, like, if anybody saw his last shift of the game last night with the goalie pulled, I mean, there's a skill forward that's a playmaker, and he's a skill guy, and he's not a physical kid, but he made an incredible play on a block shot twice, And like, he sacrificed his body at the key moment of the game, you know, which could have won us the game. You know, I mean, Cale obviously made some great saves in the game and even late in the game, but like for, you know, for a senior guy to, you know, that's not known for being that type of a player, to sacrifice his body in that key moment of the game, that's part of the culture, is that you know, they want to get back there. They want to, well, they wanted to win a championship last night. I don't think there was any thought about the NCAA tournament. I think it was about, you know, winning this trophy. And that's healthy, you know. I mean, it's gotten kind of sad where the importance of a conference championship has lost a little bit of its value. Everybody's focused on the NCAA tournament. That's the inevitable goal, but, you know, there are other, you know, things to achieve during the season, and that's one of them.
One more.
Last one?
Yeah, just real quick, since you were talking about Dylan, does Joe Wegworth kind of symbolize how everybody wants it here? Because he could have checked out, done for the year, yet he's been so engaged with the team. He was in gear last night and just seemed like he loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, even myself included, we forget what these kids go through. You know, we have kids that are having issues at home. We have kids that, you know, have issues with injuries, you know, and what, you know, and that poor kid he's had a horrible amount of luck since he's been here with injuries. And, you know, he's fought through it every year, and we've had to talk to him about his, you know, his mopiness sometimes about injuries, and actually, you know, last year when he got hurt, he handled it really well. And this year, you know, you hope things don't happen to kids like him, because he's had such a tough go around with it, you know, because I mean, this is his senior year, and this is the most important time of the year. He was having a really good year in the first half, and you have to feel for a kid like that. You know, when Kevin Ricks came to me yesterday at pregame skate, and he said, you know, Joe would like to come out in his uniform, and, you know, we had to get clearance from Doc, you know, because he's basically playing on one leg, or skating on one leg, that he wanted to go out with the guys. I said, are you kidding me? I mean, that's you don't even have to ask that question. I said, you realize he could be sitting in the locker room for 2 overtime periods, but the thing is that, you know, nothing made me feel greater than to see those guys hand that trophy to him last night.
Jeff, my final question would be, it's been a great year with what you guys have accomplished, and hockey being a team game and things, but individual accomplishments, the wins that you've had this year, passing lefty and getting your 500. Do you have any time that you ever reflect? And when you reflect, do you reflect on the people who helped get you there and the players who helped get you there?
Well, I always try to pass that credit along to I mean, I've said it many times how I feel about that, you know, whether it's basketball coaches or football coaches or whatever, is that, to me, it's like a, you know, it's just like an MVP award. I mean, there's so many people that contribute to that. It's not just the individual involved. Obviously, it's, you know, you're the person in charge and you're the person that's overseeing things, but I mean, we wouldn't be where we are if it wasn't for like our great players and certainly the coaching staff that I have. I mean, there's a lot of unsung heroes. Nick Sergey is our director of hockey ops, and our strength coach, Tony Rolinski. I mean, you know, these people are, you know, they're part of the family, and they contribute. I mean, our volunteer coach, Max, this year, Mobley, and our intern, you know, Will, you know, Mesa, these young people that we bring in here every year to give them experience and to try to help them move on in their careers. You know, all of them contribute to our success, and, you know, it's you know, I mean, I wouldn't know what to do without Paul or Andy. I mean, those two guys are, you know, the lifeblood of me, let alone our program, in different ways. Like our coaching staff, our whole staff understands their roles, and they do it as well as anybody in the country. So it'd be hard for me to take credit for those wins when I know that there's so many guys that have played here and led here, and, you know, we've had great goaltending here, and they've all contributed to so many of the wins. And when I get those congratulation texts, That's my response to them, is you had a huge impact on a lot of them. Brian Rust, or Anders Lee, or Ian Cole, that's my response to them.
Yeah, and the neat thing is though, that you're in a class now, not too many guys. You're a humble guy, and you've got a lot of humble guys that you're in a class with now, who've won
Yeah,
500 games.
it's just a pure indication that I'm getting older. The more that
Not
number,
quite as old as me.
because nobody's counting up the losses either, or all the games that I coached in the Ontario Hockey League or the national program. I mean, there's a lot of games in my history.
Thanks.